Can India trust China? Two incursion attempts in the past 3 days. China seems to be back to its old tricks. Chinese army troops have reportedly made deep incursions in Demchok and Chumar areas of Ladakh in Jammu and Kashmir. The latest incident occurred in Demchok on Tuesday when People's Liberation Army personnel entered the area in their vehicles early in the morning, claiming this was Chinese territory. The incursion at Chumar occurred on the 13th of July when members of the PLA came in several hundreds near a petrol point 2. The men were on horseback. They were confronted by ITBP and army personnel. These blatant violations don't seem to be big for the Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh. He said infiltration attempts are made from both sides as there is a perception difference on where the line of actual control is.
नहीं, मैं समझता हूं कि आज चाइना के प्रीमियर से उनकी बातचीत हुई है तो यह घुसपैठ का सिलसिला जो बराबर चलता रहता है, निरंतर चलता रहता है। उधर के सेना के जवानों का भारत में प्रवेश करना, कभी कभी भारत के लोग भी जाने की कोशिश करते हैं। हो सकता है कि क्योंकि सही डिमार्केशन न होने के कारण कभी ये प्रॉब्लम।
The Union Home Minister's comments have triggered a massive uproar. The Congress sharpened its attack on the Narendra Modi government, accusing it of going soft on China.
भाई, चुनाव भाषण में सारे भाजपा के नेता मोदी साहब खुद कह रहे थे कि चीन से सारी जमीन वापस ले लेंगे, 6 महीने के अंदर चीन से जमीन वापस ले लेंगे। अब क्या हो रहा है भैया, बताओ देश को।
NIA could be.
After the political storm, Rajnath Singh clarified. He said he meant to say sometimes the Chinese forces enter Indian territory and Indian security forces push them back. And headlines today is Kamaljeet Kaur Sandhu now joins us with the latest. Kamal, the Union Home Minister embarrassed by his comment and the Congress attack, saying that there was a change in BJP's stance after coming to power.
Well, many say this was Rajnath Shinde moment, and remember the former Home Minister had many embarrassing moments and faux pas, and Rajnath Singh also being caught on the wrong foot, and he obviously spelled out certain things which he obviously didn't imply, and obviously later on came the clarification that the wordings were not proper, and that what he meant was that the incursion was taking place from China's side, and obviously the Indian troops were trying to push these Chinese troops back. So yes, he has clarified now, but remember the issue remains extremely serious, especially on the border issue, and considering that the Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a meeting with Xi Jinping in BRICS summit, and obviously they're calling it a great success, but obviously these sticky issues and sticky points like Chinese incursions into area of Ladakh as well as Arunachal Pradesh remain very, very controversial. They have been trying to sort out these issues, and obviously it doesn't seem that things are really happening the way BJP would have wanted to, and obviously the faux pas coming at a wrong time for Rajnath Singh.
Okay, but your sources in the Ministry of Home Affairs, now even though there is a border agreement, a border defense cooperation agreement in place that says no tailing each other's troops, but your sources in the Ministry of Home Affairs saying that this time when there was an incursion, the Indian Army and the ITBP, while there was a banner drill, the ITBP ensured Indian perception of the LAC was maintained.
Well, definitely so. This is a major standoff, and remember, even this time it was 1 hour long. But remember, if you talk about previous year, there was a huge controversy before the election campaigning had begun, a 2-week-long standoff in Chumar itself, and we saw a lot of controversy taking place then. But obviously, with the new government coming in place, they've been talking about taking a hardline stance. And with the talks with China, will the government be able to come through on its word? Will they be able to, arm twist the Chinese? That's what the Congress party is now going to be really attacking the BJP on.
Will the BJP have the same stance that it did while it was in opposition? Let me put that question to Sushant Sareen of the Vivekanand Foundation, who's been studying this subject very closely. Sushant Sareen, the Congress party alleges that while in opposition, the BJP was rather belligerent on India-China situation along the line of actual control, but once in power, they seems to have softened their stance.
But it's not so much a question of softening your stand. It's a question of
that once you are in opposition, when you are in opposition, you have the answers to all the questions. It's only when you come in government that you realize the compulsions of governance and your limitations, even though you are in government. And I think that's what the BJP is now becoming familiar with. So I would agree with what the Congress party is saying to an extent. But I think there is a larger question also which is at play, that given the kind of mess which exists insofar as the line of actual control is concerned, and the varying interpretations, this is an accident which is waiting to happen. So far we have managed to avoid any kind of a conflict, really. It's just been standoffs. But if we really don't want this to degenerate into something worse, then I think that you need to work post-haste to try and sort this boundary question out, or at least have some kind of a understanding on these so-called differing perceptions of where the LSA run. Otherwise, these are incidents which will keep repeating themselves.
Okay, stay with me for a moment, Sushant Sareen. Let me also bring in the Congress party spokesperson Priyanka Chaturvedi in this. Priyanka Chaturvedi, explain to our viewers the Congress allegation of a change in BJP stance when in opposition, and now that the government is in power, now that the BJP is in power.
This goes to show their hypocrisy, the kind of picture that they had painted of the nation, and the way they used to speak about Chinese incursions when they were in the opposition. And after repeated incursions that are happening from China, we have a home minister who makes a casual remark like this. What kind of security are you talking about? What kind of safety are you talking about? This goes to show that BJP had no intention of bringing good governance, better security, and it was all, I would say, hogwash just to win elections. Some statements were made just to come into power. So, not just shows their hypocrisy, but their capacity to keep lying to the nation.
Okay, what would the Congress party expect of the government at this point of time when there are these repeated incursions, whether it's in Ladakh or other sectors?
No, we would expect better security measures when they had been, rallying around the nation. This was Narendra Modi's focus point, where he was going on talking about repeated incursions and how he would handle it. Assuming that he knew what he was talking about, let's see him in action now. Those are mere words. Now, what we hear Rajnath Singh saying seems to be, a total turnaround from what they were speaking at the time of elections.
Stay with me, Priyanka. Sushant Sareen, is this a change in stance that while the BJP was campaigning during elections, they told China, don't have this expansionist mindset, you need to change? At the BRICS summit also, the two heads of state, when they spoke about settling the issue, but these pinpricks continue, the Chinese incursions continues.
Gaurav, I think what you need to put this in some amount of perspective. I think what you need to figure out is that are these actually pinpricks, or are these accidents which are likely to happen because of what you call different perceptions? And then when you make a political football out of it, then you tend to be housed on your own petard. So that is one part of it. But the other thing is, and which is what we need to be figuring out, that because of the kind of positions which the current dispensation had taken at the time of the election campaign, are they now being tested with these incursions to see whether they really are going to walk the talk, or it was just talk?
Yes.
And I think that is something which you also need to look at, because this is likely to happen not just on your eastern front or your northern front with China, but it is just as likely to happen on your western front with the Pakistanis.
In fact, it's already happening. Pakistan is already testing India's resolve along the LC and the international border. Sushant Sareen.
This is exactly what I'm trying to tell you, that and while I'm willing to give some latitude to this government, that it's just about 2 months in power, the mess which has been left behind in the last 10 years, you still need to do a lot of work to get over it. You still need to improve your defense preparedness before you start actually undertaking the kind of actions which need to be taken to ensure that you're not pushed around. That will take time. But the point is that you still just can't be sitting back and saying that, okay, till the time we don't have the necessary complement of forces in place,
Yes.
we are not going to do anything.
That's a
So
very
this is
important
why-
point you're making. Priyanka Chaturvedi, Sushant Sarina, both with me. Also joining us on the broadcast is Commodore Uday Bhaskar. Commodore Bhaskar, how do you see these Chinese incursions in Chumar, in Demchok, in Ladakh? Is this the Chinese testing the new government's resolve, trying to figure out, was it just words initially, or can they walk the talk?
I think these are incidents where the local units and the local command are constantly testing each other's determination and resolve. And I think in the light of the Demchok incident,
Yes,
which took place last year,
yes,
there are certain lessons that have been internalized as far as India and China are concerned. Now, this is clearly not a desirable status quo that both sides have, quote unquote, their own perceptions about what are the lines and what are the areas or territories that they deem to be theirs. And I think this is where the political direction needs to kick in. But we've said this many times, Gaurav. I think on your own program,
Yes.
we have discussed what I would call as the inability of the two sides to arrive at any satisfactory kind of management of this particular area. And the latest incident is only a reflection of what I would call as a very uneasy and an undesirable situation when troops are in proximity.
And while the troops on both sides have an agreement, the Border Defense Cooperation Agreement of no tailing each other's troops, there is no way that one side can ensure that the other doesn't go back. They have to ensure that. For the moment, Priyanka Chaturvedi, Sushant Sareen and Commodore Uday Bhaskar, many thanks for joining me.